Welcome to the ExAnime Podcast, episode 29.
It is episode 29. Only 40 more away from 69.
Oh, God. Nice. So...
Oh, shit. I hope I'm logged into ExAnime on this. Thank God I am. Because all my notes were on that.
You just need to sacrifice and get a Chromebook. Get an iPad. There you go. You know an iPad's good.
I wasn't going to admit it. Saga. Where are my notes?
So this week, we have our...
It's week 3, season 3.
Yeah, our B list for the shows that we're talking about. There are some really good ones.
What do you want to talk about first? We should talk about Pretty Boy Detective first.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Listen, man.
It's weird.
Did you know the third opening was different?
No.
Or the third ending is different. So the first two endings are the same, and then the third one's different.
And
I think that's just
much different.
It's because I watched them all at once. I noticed the difference.
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing the weekly.
I've been trying to watch them at clumps at a time because it stays better.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, Pretty Boy Detective, there's 3 rules. Technically, a 4th rule. There's 3 rules in the Pretty Boy Detective Club. Rule 1.
Be a boy.
I wrote them down, and I can't find them. No, rule 1 is be pretty.
Yeah.
Rule 2, be a boy. And then rule 3 was be a detective.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, the 4th rule is be a club. And they're like, but we're a team. They had a very much team moment of that.
Yeah.
Dude, it feels so much like fucking
at the end of episode
Oron.
3, fucking rule 2 was a lie.
There was an exception made. Listen, it feels just like Oran High School Host Club. You know, they introduce Haruhi, and she's just kind of a nerd. She's kind of doing her own thing.
Yeah.
This thing starts the same way. She's our main girl. I don't remember her name. I should have prepared better.
Has it Dojima?
Okay, so I just called her girl. She's the only one that's not a boy. Well, I have them all based on what their roles are. Technically, each of the guys have their own name. It's this is blah blah blah. A Dotus or whatever. I just call them by what their actual positions are. So the girl in the first episode, she's just gazing up in the sky, and I think it's the best. Holy shit! I am sorry. It's that ramen. I'm so sorry. But it's great because you see this very well animated sky. You see this girl, she's enjoying her time, and this dude shows up, and she immediately just falls off the edge. And, okay, I guess we're getting isekai then. Because this is where this is going. But why is every single person in the show so goddamn beautiful?
Oh, that's the whole point.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, I'm not gay, but I mean.
Yeah, when I first watched it, because I had asked Matt if he had seen it yet, and he was like, no, I got to get around to it before this week starts. I was like, well... you'd be surprised, but they're some very pretty boys.
Dude, they weren't lying when they say Pretty Boy Detective. I don't know if you noticed that. The jawline on everyone is perfect.
Mm-hmm. One of the characters, Hyota,
Is that bicycle kid?
Yes. That man's got some nice legs.
Anytime there's a shot with him in it, you see him just flexing them really nice legs.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he's talking to our main girl and he's like, I think girls with, a mini skirt and some thigh highs are great, except for me, of course, and then kicks up his leg.
Yeah.
The dude's wearing booty shorts all the time. I mean, that's his whole shtick.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode, a lot happened. That was a very hectic, first episode. There's here's this, here's that, here's this. Because basically the girl's trying to find the star that she saw as a kid. It's how she runs into the club. But literally, it feels exactly like Oran. If you like fucking Oran High School Host Club, if you like Oran High School Host Club, you'll love this show. It has a lot of the same feels.
Yeah, this is done by Studio Shaft and is written by Nisio Isin, who, of course, working with Studio Shaft, he's the one who wrote the Monogatari series. This is also based on a light novel or a manga that
I think it's
wrote.
a light novel.
Yeah.
Maybe a manga as well.
Even the first episode, though the first episode is hectic, it very much feels like episode 1 of Bakemonogatari. Like the moment like scene 1 hits, it's like, of course, like someone's falling, because that also happens in the first episode of Bakemonogatari, and it's shit hits the fan quick.
Did you fear that she was a he? At first, I thought they were gonna fucking get me. I was like, I wrote my notes. I'm like, oh, this might be a boy, pretty boy detective.
Yeah, and of course our main girl, Mayami Dojimi, she is voiced by the lovely voice actress Mayama Sakamoto.
That tells me nothing.
She does Shinobu in the Monogatari series.
Cool.
So,
I never fully watched a series from them.
yeah, but you know what Shinobu sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
She's very... she has kind of one core voice, and she's very good at it, and everyone goes, it's her. It's that like Leonardo DiCaprio meme where it's like...
So, let me ask you, who's your favorite boy so far? I'll tell you who my favorite boy is after you tell me yours.
Kyoto is just...
Which one?
Bicycle Boy.
He's a close number 2. My number 1 is the quiet guy that can make sculptures.
Oh,
that's like really good at making stuff. Because he has said nothing like this entire series so far.
Shiosaku?
Yeah, he's just always like, you see him in the back of the frame, just like, I'll do my own thing. Like one of my favorite parts was
he's
like,
also supposed to be very smart, where it's like,
yeah, he like runs the biggest, like one of the bigger businesses in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that, excuse me, one of my favorite scenes. Excuse me, that ramune is not settling well. Now, one of my favorite scenes is when they're on the beach in episode 1, and she's taking out the teapot. She's like, "Oh my god, should this be in a museum or something?" And that like bad boy dude,
Michiru.
Yeah, he's sitting over there like, nah, he made that.
Yeah.
She's like, what? And he's over there making like this like Notre Dame like sandcastle.
Yeah, and even Michiru, who is literally supposed to be like the bad boy of the entire school, like he has a reputation of just kind of being a douche.
Well,
like he loves to cook.
Yeah,
and
he was cleaning too. That's when you see him. He's got a little like apron. He's got the apron on, the hat on, a little duster.
Yeah. Like you said, the main story, at least for the first kind of couple episodes, focuses around Miami. There was a star that kind of went missing when she was a kid, and she's always been searching for it. She aspired to basically be an astronaut to go like look for it, and
her parents are assholes.
Yes,
give up on your dream.
Yes,
after you turn 14, it's like, fuck off. Like, your kid wants to be an astronaut. Let her be an astronaut.
And she ends up asking them for their help. It turns out that it wasn't a star.
Well, we don't know for sure it's a satellite that got blown up by a nuke. But supposedly, it's a satellite that got blown up by a nuke because they try and fucking kidnap. It was the second episode, right? They started to kidnap. They're getting ready to kidnap her in the second episode. She's just walking home from school. It's like halfway through the episode because they go to investigate it, which... You don't realize unless you like thought about it. Class rep just looked it up that morning to find out what happened. I'm like, so within the course of like 2 hours, you figured out it's probably a satellite that got blown up by a nuke, and only she can see it.
Yeah,
the class rep is a voice actor. I love how they put up like he's good enough. Voice actors love him, and I go and look it up. I'm like, man, he actually is a pretty good voice actor. He's done a lot of stuff, and then that's kind of his character specialty is knowing shit and being a good voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
Which, the second episode is fucking crazy because they go to kidnap her. Then they decide, okay, the only way to keep her safe is let's turn her into a him. So, shut the fuck up with your bullshit, reverse trap. It's a trap either way. So now she looks like a he. And they're like, wait a minute. No pretty boy like this would walk around without a girlfriend. Then the club president, which, keep in mind, is in 5th grade.
Yeah.
They point that out at the end of the last episode. How old is he? Yeah,
he's in middle school.
Yeah, he's 5A. Wait a minute, he's in 5th grade? Maybe.
Yeah, which is hilarious. That's a tall middle schooler, by the way.
Well, they're all in middle school.
No, they're supposed to be, the rest of them are high schoolers.
I thought all of them were supposed to be middle schoolers.
No.
Because
I don't believe so.
I thought they were, because...
Man, they're
It's so hard. They just say it for like a fraction of a second.
Yeah. Also, fucking stop making middle schoolers look like adults.
This whole season, it's 30-year-olds. It's like 16-year-olds out here acting like 30-year-olds looking like they're 50. It's that meme. And that's what this one is too. Because all these pretty boys, it's like, hey, this fifth grader, she's like, oh, how old is he? Nah, he's fifth grade. It's like, what? Because then he gets his transformation. He looks like fucking Hatsune Miku. I don't remember how to pronounce it.
Hatsune Miku.
Yeah.
Well, no, because they have to be at least in high school or like getting ready to be, because she turns 14. So like I was already in high school at like 14.
Yeah. Well, I think they were like they're at the end of their middle school going into high school. I don't know. Wow. Whatever. Listen, man, they got giant fucking helicopters just outside the door. Like the first episode, like, hey, let's go explore. Helicopter right outside the main door. It's like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And then you meet what's her name, Ray? She's like one of I think that's the bad guy organization in the show, is one of the 20. And then she kidnaps our girl, and then club president on there, both of them looking like traps over here. And I love at one point they're like driving the car and they're being chased by bicycle dude, and then he gets in the car. That
man could keep up.
Yeah, he was keeping up with that car. There was someone on Reddit trying to figure out how fast he was pedaling. I was like, guys, like let's let it be. It's just Pretty Boy Detective.
Yeah, and it looks like they're all around 14, 15-ish, except for him.
Also, the openings for these, super good. Yeah, I think the opening and endings for all these are pretty good. That's about it for that episode. Also, I wrote MILFs.
Well, for that chick?
Yeah, she'd be thick as hell. She even made like a whole leg thing. Like, yeah, you're pretty, like my legs.
Do you want to see what she looks like? The voice actress? Equally as pretty.
Hey, she looks like a Karen.
Oh, that's kind of mean. But
I mean, come on. She looks like a Karen. Is her name Karen?
No, it's Hikari.
That's Japanese Karen.
Wow, you're a dick.
Do you want to talk about Zombieland? Just get out of the way.
Yeah. So
I'm still not caught up. So you can talk about it. I don't care that you're going to spoil anything. I pretty much already know what's been happening.
Zombieland.
You got to look at that camera, dude.
Manabu, by the way, is 11.
What?
The leader of the Pretty Boy Detective Club, he's 11.
Oh, they're talking about your Zombieland Saga girls. I was like, oh man, this is really weird.
No, I mean Lily is supposed to be like 12.
Listen, there's a big difference between 11 and 12. Some might say a year.
I hate you.
I hate me too. What's the difference?
Yeah, so basically, like at the end of season 1, everything failed. And
you said they had that giant concert, right?
Yeah, and like no one showed up. And the first episode is literally just trying to get everything back on track. And then by episode 2, it was like, all right, like we've been practicing. We're back like in the groove. Let's go, do a concert back where it like all started at the like heavy metal venue. And I don't know if episode 3 came out today or is it Saturday, but they're kind of only 2 episodes in right now. And she of course, like the scene has changed roughly in that year. They actually, I think 3 episodes in. I forget to hit the button. They just fail. Like most of the metalheads are like, go away, and then they
get your bad CG out of here.
The CG is kind of bad for the dance sequences.
It has been bad.
I'm also getting things slightly mixed up. So that's the end of episode 1. They're doing the concert. They're like, we're going to do this. We need to get back on track. Their manager finally like realizes, oh, I need to like step up and do this. They go and they perform, they flop, and then they still wanted to do like the encore for the new song. the manager like runs in and just by himself starts yelling like encore, and all of the metalheads are like, hey, stop that. And he just keeps yelling it until he like gets punched in the face. And in the crowd, they do have a couple fans. Specifically, there's two that like they're always really fun to see in the audience because they're like the audience perspective duo that like are fairly funny, and they're like, yeah, encore, and of course everyone else around them is like, no, you stop that too. And it just turns into a literal fist fight in the middle of the crowd between those three, and the two fans like they absolutely start beating the living shit out of the people around them. They play the song anyways after kind of like mustering up a little courage, and turns out the song is pretty catchy, but like even by the end, most of the people in the crowd are like, okay, I kind of like this. Like they finally kind of get them on board. Episode 2 is them like getting more back on track. All right, like let's set a goal. We have like a video shoot that we're doing to help kind of regain some of the popularity and get more attention back on French Chouchou. I think that's how it's called. That's the band name. And there's a fucking radio dude that has been like a singer forever. You know those like greaser dudes with the hair that like sticks out like this? Like
talking about the corn, like
giant? Yeah. So
doesn't the manager have that?
No, he's got like short brown hair.
I thought the manager had a hairstyle like that for a little bit.
No. The Saki, she's that like long blonde hair gang member style one. Yeah. She remembers back when she was alive that he did this radio program, and it's kind of how she ended up meeting one of her good friends while she was alive after like listening to the radio program and like getting more involved in kind of the gang stuff. It's a weird roundabout thing. Like the core takeaway is like just live your life was the main message that he wanted to like put out. So it affected her a lot. So when she found out, it's like, oh, we're working with like this guy. She had that like mental image of the like 30-something-year-old like with that, and this like over the top 50-year-old dude, because it's been a while. He has the same hair like that sticks out like that, except it don't stick up no more. It literally just over on one side. Still the big like round thing, and he has to like move it out of the way every so often. And even when they introduce him, he's literally just sitting on the hood of a car while the driver is driving up. He's just like, yeah, this is how I ride. I don't sit in the car. And they ended up doing some shoots with that. And he, at the very end, he says that, you know, he's retiring, and like the Saga, the area that they're in, they don't need him anymore. Saki basically like goes to tell him, no, keep going, like you're very important to us. And he's like, no, but what they do need is someone like you. You'll be the host now. And of course the people in the radio station are like, no, what is he doing? Tell him no, go no. And she's like, yes. And the one producer is like, no, this might work. And it's like, that was basically...
That is not how the film industry works. It's like, no, don't fucking do this. It's a bad idea. Bad idea.
So basically, like, now all of the band does a weekly radio show.
So Zombieland Saga, the radio show? Hey, man, that's some good promo if they actually did a 1-hour special on the radio in Japan. Just saying, trademark. That's not how it works, but I'm thinking that's how it works.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how things have played out so far. I don't think I had the chance to watch episode 3. I think episode 3 came out today.
You want the short?
It only came out today.
You want the short thing of Farewell Cramer?
Episode 4 came out today. I may have my stuff
So,
mixed up.
Farewell, My Dear Cramer is another show that I'm watching. You're not watching at all.
No.
It's a sports anime. I suspected that. Did not know it was soccer. I'm really not a huge soccer fan. But I do like sports anime because I get really hyped. I'm like, they can fucking do it. First 2 episodes is like... The first episode is super fucking boring, as in, like, you get the main... There's a couple people that are kind of the main characters, if that makes sense. They're kind of following 3 different people. And in the first episode, you kind of get the first girl's kind of backstory of... She was really good at her school, like the best. Where she was kind of competing on the boys' team because it's girls soccer, boys soccer, whatever. And then she gets talked to by her coach in middle school. And her coach is like, you know what? You know, don't try and compete on the boys' team because if you get destroyed there, you're not going to play anymore. Be the best women's soccer player out there and show the boys who's best. You get to episode 2. You don't see this fucking girl for a solid, like, 10 minutes. You meet your other 2 main characters. The good thing about sports anime is they give everyone a lot of screen time that's kind of on the team. Not the whole team, because you still just have some random background characters. And then, out of nowhere, these girls are kind of losing confidence that, you know, oh, well, this team kind of sucks, because a lot of people just join these teams. I don't know how it works in Japan, but a lot of people, like, at least at our high school, people just didn't join the team because it's like, oh, it's fun. It's like they join the team because they want to get good at soccer. I don't know how it works in Japan. I don't live there. I've never lived there. I just get my information from anime, which is always true. Truck-kun will kill you.
Truck-kun will kill you.
Yeah. What if I kill Truck-kun? Does he get isekai'd?
You should make an anime.
It's just some strong-armed guy punching the fucking truck and the truck falls over, dies, and then that's the opening to it?
Yeah.
Does the truck turn into a person? Oh my god, that'd be super interesting. It'll be like To Your Eternity. You can't fucking... can't speak. No, but other than that, episode 2, really boring as well. Till the end of episode 2, they bring in a national female soccer player star to train the team because she used to go to this school. And she's like, you know what?
Yo, that's a bit unfair. Hey, they got a new coach. Who is it? This person. What's their accolades? Well,
the thing is, she then challenges her school to the top school in the nation. Like they're the, you know, they're like the country champions, I think is their deal. Or at least they're like province champion soccer team. And guess who's the coach of that team?
Another professional.
Her head coach when she was on the national team. So it's like, oh my God. So we got the national soccer star. It's the head of the main character's team. Then her former coach on the national team is now the coach for this high school team, which first off, that doesn't really happen. That doesn't like normally happen. Once you're a national like head coach for a soccer team, you just don't go teach high school. You teach college.
Like that's what I was gonna say. Like, yo, how much has your prestige fallen if you're like a professional player that's like, I'm gonna go teach a high school, and then you're like a champion head coach for soccer, and you're like, I'm gonna go teach high schoolers.
Yeah,
it's like
that's literally what the fucking story is. So besides that, I was like, oh, okay, it won't be whatever. And the coach starts off the game with, hey, what's up? It's a long time no see. And then she's like, hey, what's up, former coach of the national team? And that's when we're like, oh, wait, what, really? So then they shake hands, do their normal bullshit, like, bow to each other. And then the coach talks to his team, the national head coach. So the enemy team, I'll just call them that, says, listen, you have to score 10 goals on them. And you can't let them score any goals. Otherwise, you're never playing on this team again. And they're all like, yeah. And then the other team, she's like, listen, some of you may die. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. But she literally says, listen, we're going to test your abilities. And I'm like, what the fuck is this Naruto shit of testing our abilities? And then the whole episode is them getting fucking destroyed. We're talking goal after goal after goal. And then they have those stereotypical anime moments like, we're surrounded. What do I do? Kick the ball. And then finally the girl that was slacking off, that was in episode 1, you're like, I thought she's supposed to be good. Then she kicks in the gear. And they get so close to scoring a goal so many times. They like kick, miss, kick, miss. There's this other random girl that just wants to be on the team for the sake of being on the team. First of all, she's terrible with directions. She gets lost multiple times, and then she forgets where she's at the field, which causes a penalty. And she keeps trying to kick the goal. She's like, ha ha ha, look at, you remember on High School Host Club, the one girl that always introduced herself very dramatically?
Okay.
She's exactly like that. She's like, I'll kick the ball into the goal. So the first time they kick the ball to her, she kicks the ball directly at the goalie. And the goalie just catches like, well, what was that? Second time, she fucks up. Luckily, someone else kicks the ball, bounces off the goalpost, almost goes in, gets fucking drastic, right? Everyone's like, oh shit. They're actually kind of okay. You know, not enough to like kick their ass. They're like, no, we're still better. Because the thing is, if they score one fucking goal, no one on the enemy team is allowed to play again, or at least that's the threat the coach makes, because he's like, we're too good. And at this point, they're up 22-0, which if you know anything about soccer, that is
a lot.
I think that's the equivalent of like 200 like points in football difference. It's crazy. Because like, you know, remember the World Cup when Germany destroyed Brazil? It was like 7-2, and everyone was like, fuck. Like Germany was up 7-0, and like, oh, let them have a few goals. Feel good. So at the very end of the episode, it's like getting real drastic. The music's fucking great. They're kicking the ball. She goes to kick the ball. And she actually makes the goal. Like the girl that you thought was lazy and was, she's all right. She does this thing where like the enemy team's like, oh, she's okay. Then she does this thing where like she keeps the ball glued to her leg the whole time. Does a whole bunch of fancy kicks, like a turn, then like a backwards kick flip into the goal. That's where the episode ends. I fucking love this show because just that whole premise of
with the lazy girl where you walk up to her at the very end and be like, you do that the whole time, huh?
That's
cool,
literally,
you're not allowed to play.
That was literally the fucking thing of it. They were like, why are you so fucking lazy? Why don't you care? And she's like, and then she starts acting good. And then one of the other girls starts getting lazy halfway through the game. That's always been super good. Super fast at sprinting. Like, the animation's fucking hilarious too, because it's like the whole, how do we make someone walk faster? Faster legs? No, just speed up their movement. Mm-hmm. So like you see her like jog and they're like, let me kick in the high gear. Fucking like Usain Bolt just take off at that goal. It's a little cheesy, but it's a sports anime and I fucking love sports anime because of that cheese factor. Also, still, yeah, your prestige has fallen so much that I'm teaching a national high school girl. Granted, there's some in that, but when you used to teach a national team a couple years ago and now you're teaching, I mean, what did you do? Did you like have an affair with one of the players? I don't know. That's it for that.
All right.
86?
Yes.
Also, most of these shows we have seen the first three. That's what we're talking about.
86 is pretty good.
Fucking people die.
Yes.
The first fucking, like, the first scene is, like, some dude dying on the radio.
Yeah.
He's like, ugh.
To which, I will even say, like...
Also, they are Nazis. Just saying.
Yeah,
not the fighters, the people in the utopia. If you don't have white hair, you're not a citizen. Fuck you.
Yeah, you're literally like autonomous. Like,
yeah.
No person dies here.
Yeah, no one died. 30 people died. No, they're not people.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
We watched the first three, right? I think the fourth one's out now.
Nah, fourth one's on Saturdays.
Oh, okay.
So,
dude, so far the animation. So you haven't seen Iron-Blooded Orphans, have you?
No.
It feels very much like Iron-Blooded Orphans, as in the way of kids are used to pilot robots because they have this thing called the Leia Vignana, which they connect this machine to your spine, so you have super fast reflexes. And the downside of that is it kind of scars you for life because it's implanted. It had a very similar feel, as in like they called the kids space debris because they have no parents, they have no family, they're worth nothing except they're only good for fighting. Is the only reason why they're still alive. Similar thing to this. All these people that live in these places, they can become an honorary citizen of this country if they live, I think it's something like, it's like 6 years of combat or something. It was like a very long period of time. Like you have to fight for this nation for 6 years before you're an honorary citizen. And even when you are a citizen, they even talk about how people still face major discrimination because you don't have white hair, so you're fucking worthless. Also, I feel like white hair is very lazy on the animator side. I'm sorry. You animate some beautiful fights, but it's like, come on, give some like colored hair every once in a while. Because it's like, oh, white.
I was looking, the producer of the show, Nobuhiro Nakayama, his producer stuff is real weird.
Yeah, it's like all over the place.
So he's done a Cell World, and he did the producing of Sword Art Online, Alicization, War of the Underworld.
I think you needed the first part though, right?
War of the Underworld is the last half.
Is it okay?
Which it does have a lot of action, which makes sense.
I mean, it's a lot of like pretty looking stuff too, because this show does look really, really good.
Yeah, but also, he's also the planning producer for Wonder Egg, which like cool. And then you're like, oh, he was also the producer of To Love Ru and the MILF Isekai. And it's like, man, that's a weird.
Listen, man, you have a broad spectrum to choose from.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what's weird? In like the second episode, out of fucking nowhere, they're like, "Hey, we need to do laundry," and they just have an episode of them playing in the water. I'm like,
yeah,
what the fuck does this add to the story? And I'm like, that's when I went to look up, like, what has this guy even done before? What have these people done? That's when I was like, it makes a lot more sense now why this is in here. The show was so good. It's like basically all these robots, they have like a giant cannon on their back.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like mobile tanks where they look like kind of spider-like creatures. They have like 6 legs, giant cannon on the back. And basically the whole point of the story is the white-haired people had their kingdom, like they went to war with a larger kingdom. And there's 86 districts, or there's 85 districts in District 86, which is why this is called 86. Those are the people that are worthless. Those are basically the non-white-haired people were all segregated there. And they even talk about later in the episode, like, hey, my family was massacred just because they're not part of you. So it's very much like you want to sympathize with our main character girl, but she's kind of fighting for like a future kind of Nazi group, it feels like.
Yeah.
If you don't fit into this demographic and look this way, then you're not a citizen. But basically these space debris have to fight for so long you become a citizen. Yada, yada, yada. We already talked about it. But then this one girl you're following, the leader of this whole group, of this unit of 86, I think it's called a Reaper Squadron. Or
I think.
Yeah, I was going to say Undertaker, and I realized that's just a WWE wrestler.
Undertaker is the name of their like head.
Yeah, Undertaker's the head, and I think it's Reaper is the unit.
No. So he had his thing is Undertaker, but they call him the Reaper. It's the Spearhead squadron.
Yeah, because they call him Undertaker. That's his personal name, because they'll have personal names that they say like unit whatever personal name Undertaker. And he's super good at fighting. The fighting animation's fucking great in the show. Like, granted, there is a decent amount of CG, but they do mask it, I think, decently well when they're fighting throughout the city.
Mm-hmm.
The weirdest thing about this that I wrote down, I'm like, oh, great, they got Fitbits and fucking piercings so they can talk to each other. This girl basically puts on this choker collar thing, and then she can talk to the squadron through, like, their fucking earpiece.
Look, they got mech stuff. It's the future.
It's so fucking dumb.
I'm fine with it.
Like, you could have made anything else. Like, now let me put on my choker and my earring. Also, that'd be fucking annoying if you're in the middle of the night. Like, some of them were asleep, and she's like, hey, what's up? You know, the squadron? And they're like, listen, we're just tired and we want to go to bed.
Yeah.
At least she's trying to help the squad.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the later episodes, you see her looking for maps. And apparently no one else has done this for the squad. Most of the squad's kind of gone insane. Mm-hmm. And I think they hinted at Undertaker has a way of making them go insane. Because in episode 2, it's like, oh, when are you going to do the thing to her? And then he said, like, not yet. Because obviously the squad likes to operate by themselves and not told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. There's not much else to it because, like, there was a lot of combat. If you like a lot of like mech kind of combat things, I really, really like the show.
Yeah, I think this show does a great job of combining the combat with also the humanity of the people that you're dealing with.
Yeah. So you actually start
the drama of it.
Well, especially in like the third episode when spoiler, that one dude dies. I forget his name because in episode 2
it was a girl. The one girl that was yelling at her initially. She died, and then the guy was yelling at her.
No, I thought the guy died.
No.
One of the guys died in his mech, and then Undertaker went up and shot him because remember he says, hey.
Wait, in episode... Sorry, I'm talking about 3.
Well, she didn't die we don't know if she died in 3
yet. She died in 3.
Did she?
So they're doing this cool thing. They have a website. It's like 86something.com. Whenever anyone dies... their profile picture grays out and says destroyed under their character label.
What?
So
there's a real website? Hang on.
Yes.
So I guess, well, the thing is, I thought episode 3 started with Undertaker having to shoot his buddy.
No, that was episode 2.
Oh, episode 2. Yeah, that was kind of sad because they already made you feel an emotional attachment to him. Like, oh, this guy's going to live. And then immediately like, yeah, what's up, buddy? Pow.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 86.com?
I don't know.
Well, that's definitely not it. 86. Here, fill the time. I'll look for it.
8. Okay. Yeah.
Anime86.com.
Yes. So
Wow, this is actually really cool.
Yeah. So if you
where's my
scroll
Google
down.
Translate? Oh, look, I even got a little cursor. Look.
Yeah. So scroll down a little bit.
Are you sure it's
I
here?
think there's. There's probably like the subsection. Go
character.
to characters.
Shout out the character sign.
So.
Oh my god, that's fucking brutal, dude.
They get updated
Destroyed?
like an hour after the episode
Oh my
comes out.
god, that is fucking brutal. Also, they got a dog, which is just a giant robot. You can't see it because of the glare. Let me scroll. So it's gonna be hard to see, but right here you can see it says deceased. Wow, that is fucking brutal.
Yeah. Which I think it's super interesting that
How they died. Is there a Google Translate? Is this translate?
I'll
figure it out later. I'll look it up later.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, because he's deceased as well.
Yeah,
He's the one
he's the one that passed away in episode 2.
Yeah, and they even that's sweet. They even have their little insignias on. Wow, that just makes it even darker, dude.
Yeah, it's
Fuck.
there's some like extra interesting stuff. Like, you know, in this case, it even removes a little bit of the ambiguity where it's like, oh, I don't quite remember. Like, you know, clearly someone is dead. Like, who was it? And then using that site to identify exactly like that person that you were just.
God, how
with.
did you find that? Did they just post
It was
it?
people were talking about it in the episode discussion on Reddit.
Fuck, that's brutal, dude.
Yeah. So, we should.
That's about it. Yeah, for that one.
Yeah.
What's our last show? To Your Eternity.
We also have Tokyo Revengers.
We got to speed it up. Thanks. We've been.
Yeah. So To Your Eternity, we're 3 episodes in. A god casts down an egg that turns into a rock.
Listen,
that
God-
turns into a wolf.
God made orb. Orb turns into rock. Rock turns into moss. Moss turns into dog that died on top of him. Dog goes, finds boy. Boy is like, hey, my dog's back. Then boy's like, you know what? Let's go wander off and find the paradise. Boy falls in water. Gets, shit stuck in his leg. Finds out his whole family died on the way there. Goes back, dies of pneumonia.
Pneumonia, and then probably an infection of the wound.
It was the saddest fucking shit because he's there.
The first episode is very, very good. We're simplifying things a lot, but
listen, that was the first 15 minutes of the show was just that slow kind of. The thing was that made you sad about the boy is he gives up, goes back home, and then he's sitting in the chair and you're watching him slowly die. Then it looks like he's getting better, and then he fucking sits out his chair. Is like. What do you call his dog? What's his dog again? Noah or
no?
You look that up, but it's so fucking sad. He's talking to his dog because he's obviously afraid because he thinks his dog is his dog because his dog disappeared for 2 months and he was waiting for his dog to come back. You can tell the kid's having some mental issues with being isolated by himself. Johan, that's what it is. And he's like, Johan, remember me? And he kind of passes out in his chair, and then he just dies. He falls on the floor, and then you can tell, oh my God, he's dead. And the saddest part was then when he died, the orb, which is now the dog, we'll just call him the God thing, whatever. He's he's still trying to understand what's going on because it's just an orb slowly learning. And correction, best part of the whole thing, Overhaul does the voice over for all this shit.
Yes,
so you're just seeing
the
Overhaul
narrator.
narrate everything. And then the sad part is when, dog turns into the boy because he can shapeshift with enough stimulation.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he puts the boy kind of back in his chair and everything. And then he just starts fucking walking. You're like, Jesus fucking Christ, how fucking sad is this gonna get?
Yeah.
The next 2 episodes are kind of lame, but
look, I definitely see that there's been that slight problem where, like, even in the manga, like the first chapter, which is what episode 1 is based off of, only the first chapter, it is very, very good. At least I think that's what people are saying was just the first chapter. Like, it's probably too strong of a start, and then it like lulls a little bit.
It lulls a lot. Because the second episode, you get a background character of this little girl in a village.
Yes.
Yeah, March. Basically, long story short, March is a child have paint on their face. So you can just, I don't know, with maybe some tradition thing.
Yeah.
It's still a very kind of like, kind of more primitive, it's like a primitive kind of tribe thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this ritual where every year between the 16 tribes, I think it was, every year they pick one child as sacrifice to give to this god. And that's how
to have good harvest.
Yeah. So basically they're giving her up for the greater good. And like, she doesn't know it. She's like, hey, I want to be an adult, which kind of hits you hard a little bit because dad's like, yeah, if you're a good kid and behave, you'll be an adult at no time. Then they pick her as the sacrifice. The parents are all cool with it because in my notes are like, wow, fuck these parents. They don't give a shit about their daughter.
And then
they walk
act
out.
Like it.
Yeah, then they walk outside and immediately they start crying. They're like, we're so sorry, we're so sorry. And I'm like, oh, man, this ain't going to be good. They're real emotional.
Yeah.
Then they prep her for, because that's like the first half of the second episode, and the second half is them taking March up the mountain.
And she escapes.
Yeah, well,
with the help of her friend.
Yeah, her friend that you see in the episode is playing with her, helps her escape. She rolls on the hill, and that's where she runs into, surprise, surprise, our god.
Apparently, the character's name is Fushi.
The orb?
Yeah. Well, the person that used to be.
Oh, wait, that's right, because they call him Fu-chan.
Mm-hmm.
That's her nickname for him. And then you get this adorable moment where he still has all of his dog behaviors. And they even point out, like, he can't die because he died 6 times on his way walking there, and his body just resurrects.
Yeah.
Because she runs into him because he's passed out, like, dead, decomposing in the water. And then
That was a cool scene, by the way.
Yeah, like, the animation, resurrecting, everything going back.
Yeah,
because the guards go to grab March, and they're like, oh my god, it's a fucking swamp monster. Let's fucking get out of here. And, I mean, it even shows because every time he dies and resurrects, he, like, comes to life faster and faster and faster. But he must have been sitting in there a while to be that decomposed.
Yeah.
And then it's like the whole like next 5 minutes is her grabbing food for Fu-chan, throwing it on the ground. He's eating it like a dog. She's like, no, eat it like this. Then he knocks it out of her. The best part is the slap out of the hand of the pair and eats it on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And you get that like little hint where, because of course, like her goal is March wants to be a mom, like at some point.
Yeah.
And you get those like little hints where, because she knows her fate, she's she's kind of taking advantage of like, oh, like I'm not going to be your mom kind of thing.
Yeah. But
like,
if you insist.
Yeah. And like tries to get him to talk and, like mouth, like, thank you. So like doing the arigato.
Yeah. Which never.
And like, you get to episode 3, of course, March gets like caught again. There's a big ass bear.
Yeah, that was a big. You see the bear earlier because the bear kills him once already. It's like a big bear with spikes and it's bleeding and everything. And it's
by the way, like big bear, it's not like that's.
We're talking like Kong size like bear.
Yeah.
The bear's fucking massive.
Mm-hmm.
Like the dog, like this thing of the size of a wolf, and the wolf is the size of its nose.
Yeah.
That's how big this thing is. And the best part was, like, the beginning of the episode went really fast. The last half was March is about to be sacrificed because they think that the bear is the god. Because no one's ever see the god. The thing is, they're like, we're going to tie her up. And if they tie her up there and she's alive a year later when they go to get her, she can go back home like, you're fucking tying people up. They're just going to die of starvation and dehydration. They're not going to live.
Yeah,
whatever. I'm not a medicine guy. And the bear comes to eat her, and then whoop-de-doo, Fu-Chan comes up he walks up in human form and then turns into a wolf and defends her ass. Oh no, he is in human form. Bear bites off his head and I'm like, shit, now we're going to have to wait 2 hours for him to regenerate. Regenerates immediately because the bear is like biting off his head as he's like pulling off and he's headless and everyone's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? This dude is a headless fighting this giant bear. And then he transforms into a wolf, like in the second part of the fight.
Yeah,
that bites his nose off.
Turns back into Johan. I think it was like loss of blood by that point. Like,
yeah, probably.
We are kind of skipping over like Perona is the girl that helps March escape.
Yeah, I can. Okay.
And she's also there. Like she's trying.
She sucks at shooting arrows, by the way.
Oh yeah, she's trying to get like March out. While
she knows that these rituals are dumb. They're just dumb religion things.
Yeah. So at the very end, the Fushi as the wolf, like March wakes up because they basically fed her a drug, and it's been a couple hours, and she like throws him a pear.
No, she goes to hand him a pear.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, get away from that. He's dangerous.
Yeah. By that point, March and Perona have both basically been like, well, look, the god is like dead. You guys can't go back to your regular village. We'll just say it was successful. Like, you want to like just pretend like you're dead and come back and live in the city now. Yeah. Which is one of those like, yo, fuck you. What a weird like proposition. Now,
this dog just killed your god. Fuck.
Yeah. Also, this woman now like, March, like her parents now have to live with the fact that
their kid is dead.
Yeah, and think that their kid is dead. Where it's like, yo, that's going to be shitty as fuck because, eventually she's going to have to reunite with her family. And it's like, no, I had to pretend kind of thing. It's like, that's going to have some mental fuckery to it. But it's hilarious. The March feeds him
the pear.
The pear to him. And he eats it like a little less aggressive because as he's
more calm.
Yeah, as he's fighting, there's kind of like the stimulation that's being provided to the orb. You can see like protection and some of the learning that's going on with that because he starts to like have ripples through him.
Yeah.
And right at the very end of eating, he just says thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, well, thanks.
Like, the way they animated it, because, of course, it's a wolf saying thank you.
It's
in
fucking
the broken,
hilarious.
like, arigato.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, it was cool, but also I fucking couldn't help but laugh for like 5 minutes.
It definitely took you out of that moment of like, oh, it's like, oh,
huh? But yeah, that's basically where 2 Year Eternity is. So far, the show is very good. Especially if you like just watched the first episode and it was like, oh, well, that's like an interesting story as like a one-off. That's like, oh, real good. The first episode, but I'm interested to see where it continues to go. And now we have our final one, which I kind of like the most right now. Tokyo Revengers.
And I gotta figure out why I put something on episode 1. I wrote something for episode 1. I don't know why.
For 2 Year Eternity?
No, for Tokyo Revengers. I wrote something. I'm very confused why
What'd
I wrote
you say?
that.
What'd you put? Say it. Speak it.
Hang on.
Well, he's doing that. Yo, this show good. The animation's a little...
Hang on. This is what I wrote. This boy is messy. Then I wrote, oh, boobs. Oh, it's right, because he was looking at porn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like so confused. Like, I don't remember any of the like... Dude, holy shit. Talking about Truck-kun strikes again, which is bullshit. He's trying to save her from her isekai.
Yeah, well, I mean...
The show's good. I won't say it's the best show. It's good.
I like the story that's being
You just like Erased.
I do like Erased, and I think this might actually become a better version of that.
You shut your dirty whore mouth.
Yeah.
Dude, episode 1 was pretty nice because you just randomly get intro. I like how they do this one. Because they just introduce him. He's going about his daily life. And then, what is it, like maybe 4 minutes into the episode? It's like, hey, look, a truck struck a mall today and killed 2 people. They say 2 names, which mean nothing to you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Until you realize later, like, he's like, oh, yeah, it's my ex-girlfriend in, like, high school and middle school and her little brother.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah, and then it kind of eats away at him a little bit where he's like that's the only girl I've, like, ever loved, and, like, look at kind of how shit my life has turned out. And a lot of that kind of, like, build up of, like, some of the regret, because, of course, like, something like that, you know, happening makes you reflect a little bit. And
He gets fucking, after that, he gets fucking Tanya.
Yeah.
Have you seen Tanya the Saga of Evil? Motherfucker gets pushed onto a train platform.
Yeah.
And you still don't know who pushed him, but the thing is, he gets pushed, and then he starts to kind of have his life flash before him. So I wonder if...
How much you want to bet it was Naoto?
That's what I'm thinking. His girlfriend's little brother.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, because he starts to have that flashback, and then that's the trigger to it. No. Someone else must have pushed him, because when he goes to grab the guy's hand on the platform to pull him up, that's when he has the flashback. So that's Naoto. Because remember, then he meets the cop, which is the little brother. So we still don't know who pushed him. It could have been one of the fellow gang members that he, maybe later in the story, he fucks over. Long story short, he gets pulled up off the platform, or you think he does in time, but they immediately cut to a flashback of 12 years ago, and then he starts going like, this must be a dream. This is my life flashing before me. Nothing comes of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's slowly reliving what's kind of happening.
Yeah, he gets fucking brought back in the worst time where he's like, wait, what's happening right now? Right as he's about to get his fucking ass beat.
Yeah. Gets punched in the... Well, the best part, too, was... I like the little touch they had. He's like, what they did is... And it, like, he goes from his regular phone. He was like, flip phone. He doesn't... No problem. He's like, click. Here's my phone. I'm like... Last time I fucking used the flip phone, I was like, when I was going through my shit, I was like, how does this work?
Oh, I can kind of intuitively still use a flip phone. This shit's ingrained. But
yeah, they're in the middle of a fight. And then they go to have another fight with what they think are some second-year students.
Yeah.
Which turns out to be third-year students. It's like, oh, you're trying to fuck with our, like, juniors? Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
And that's when they really get their fucking ass beat.
Like, yeah, because in
pummeled to the ground.
Because in that moment, he's like, wait, no, like, I remember this. We basically get beaten to a pulp, and then we become their lackeys.
Their slaves.
Like, yeah, for...
the rest of their pretty sure high school.
Yeah, which eventually, like, leads to him just fleeing and, like, losing contact with
being a loser.
And, like, always apologizing and, like, doing
I'm
nothing
not ready
with
for a
his
character
life.
with that name.
What, Hinata?
Yeah. Because he nicknames her Hina, and I'm like, nah. Can't fucking do this. Can't do it.
So, her last name, by the way, is Tachibana. DG's... There's Hina Tachibana.
Fucking degenerate. I'm gonna zoom in on the camera when you say that. I'm just gonna put giant words. Degenerate. Fucking scrub. Yeah, basically they get their ass kicked, and then he comes. Then at the end of episode 1, he comes back out of the realization. No, he talks to her little brother.
Because
then he says, "I'm gonna save your sister," and the kid's like,
after he gets his ass beat, he just kind of has that moment where he's like, "I want to go see her." He runs to her place. They have their interaction. He cries a little bit because he's a bitch. And then while he's at a park, he runs into, or he's trying to sulk, and he runs into her little brother as he's kind of being bullied.
Yeah.
And with Takemichi, which is the main character, he hadn't actually said his name yet. You have those moments where it's like, he could still be a badass. Like there's those sections in him.
Yeah.
And like you see that there where like his anger gets a little bit of the best of him, and he starts yelling, and he fucking literally breaks a glass bottle, and he's like, "I'll fucking cut you," essentially.
Cut you, slut.
Yeah, and
that kid's like,
Yeah, so that other kid runs away, and as he's talking with her little brother, it's like, Naoto, in 12 years' time today, your sister is going to die. You are going to die. Like, change that. Like, promise me, like, you'll save her. They shake hands because an 8-year-old's like, yeah, this sounds real important.
Dude.
Yeah. Of course, it
It
does
works.
change. Like
When they go to shake hands, it's very important that teleports him back to the future.
Yeah.
They figure out handshakes are the way to.
Yeah, that locks the new timeline.
Yeah.
And Naoto is the one that saves him from dying at the platform. Episode 2, because we're kind of running out of time here. Episode 2, literally,
it's just a big old fucking fight.
Well, at the very beginning, it's like expedition.
They have a long talk of
kind of
like
dump of like, you need to do this. Like, these two people can't meet. Like,
basically
Manjiro and then
basically the Hina's brother is a cop now. Tells him, hey, basically he ingrains all this information about the gangs. He's like, okay, now go stop him. They shake hands, and he comes back in the middle of a fucking fight again. He's like, hold up 1 second. Oh shit! This time 12 years ago, and he gets fucking punched immediately.
Yeah,
then,
knocked out.
Knocked out. Then he comes back to it, and then the gang that made him a slave are like, you know what? You lost us a lot of fucking money today. No one's gonna come to these fights if you get your ass kicked at one hit. So what does he do? They beat him up for a solid, like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes.
They take the bat to him.
Well, no, then they get done beating him up, and then he asks him like, hey, do you know the gang member? He's like, give me the bat. Then he just fucking beats him up with a bat.
Yeah.
And then, there's a little scene with Hina, which doesn't really matter. But when they're back in school, because the second day they talk about, because there's like 5 of these friends, and then one of them, the one friend got picked now, the weakest of them, to get in a fight. And they're like, oh my God, he can't fight. He's too fucking weak.
He's very frail. Like, they already beat the shit out of him once recently. Like,
yeah, so then they decide. So our main character, dude, he shows up to the fight, gets the balls to be like, hey, you know what? Fuck you. You want an interesting fight? Fight me. He's talking to the main dude of the smaller gang, the biker gang. And the guy's like, you know what? Fine, we'll fight. And then you have a fucking Rocky 4 moment.
That's the end of the episode for episode 2.
Oh, that's right. That episode went by.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
It was a lot of monologuing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Episode 3, then it's when it starts off. They're getting ready to have the fight, the main biker gang dude, and then our main character boy. They start getting in a fight, and if you've seen Rocky 4, it's that scene where they're fucking, Rocky's taking all those hits, taking the hits, and the guy's getting fucking worn out from taking the hits, and it's all just about, don't pass out, me, just fucking take these hits over and over again. And that's when the whole school starts to get quiet, because they're cheering like, kill him, They're like, oh man, he really is going to kill this fucking kid, isn't he, if he keeps going? And then finally the kid says, hey, if you want to, beat me, you're going to have to kill me. And that's when you get the realization the main biker gang leader says, grab me the bat. And everyone's like, whoa, wait a minute, you need a bat to defeat this guy now? Like, you've just been beating the shit out of him for a couple minutes. And that's when you get introduced to the actual gang member that's responsible for killing his girlfriend and her brother in the future.
Yeah.
Manjiro, yeah. Which he just looks like a total, kind of normal kid.
Yeah.
And then everyone starts bowing, and you're like, oh shit, this guy must be some sort of badass, because he's the leader of all the gang. I think it's the Manji gang is what he's in charge of, and then all these guys at school are part of the biker gangs that are part of it.
It's like the Tokyo Manji gang.
Yeah. And then the one biker gang dude doesn't bow for him. He's like, hey, what's up, boss? And then you fucking see Malcolmore looking dude. Ken just immediately kicks the guy, and he's like, and the guy obviously, bends over because he gets kicked in the stomach. He's like, listen, you need to bow at least this low whenever you see the boss. Who do you think you are? Realize who you are. And then fucking Manji just becomes fucking friends with the dude.
With Takemichi.
With Takemichi, our main character. He's like, I like you. Let's be friends. I've never had a friend this age.
Yeah. Manjiro basically turns back to that other dude and is like, hey, are you in charge of this? Yeah. It's like, no, not no more. And like fucking kicks him in the face so hard it like knocks him out.
This is the biker gang leader he's beating the shit out of.
And
actual gang leaders beating up the biker.
Yeah,
gang.
it's one of those good juxtapositions of like Manjiro where you're like, oh, he doesn't really look like any older than Takamichi and the like kind of like a kid, and then you have that like juxtaposition where it's like, oh my god, his rage is there, and he just fucking beats the living shit out of that dude, and then they just step over him or step on him as they're walking away, as he's like.
Well, the best part is
trash.
the next day when they come into the school. Manji wants to visit his friend. What's his name? Takamichi. So head gang member wants to meet main character boy, and beats up all the fucking third years in the hallway. They're like, "Who are you?" And you hear a whole bunch of scuffle. He just walks in and says, "Hey, what's up, Takamichi?" In the middle of class, he's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I came to see if you wanted to hang out." And the teacher's like, "You can't be in here." And they're like, "Nah, don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And then when they walk over them, they go in the hallway. They make all the third years. They just beat the shit out of lay down in the hall. He's like, what is he going to do? And they just use them as like a walkway to get out of the school. They're just, casually stepping on everybody.
Mm-hmm. Hopping from one body to the other. And then Hinata, though, like, stops him.
She's like, "You ain't taking my fucking man."
She slaps Manjiro. Yeah. That was one of those, like,
she just slapped a gang member, like a legit gang member.
You ain't got to wait 12 years now for her to die. Like, things have changed enough already. And it turns out that, like, in the end, though, like, Kin and Manjiro, they have, like, a lot of aura of like being very badass, that they still have very strong morals, like both Takamichi and Hinata, because of course Takamichi eventually like sticks up for Hinata and basically
defends his woman. They give him compliments. We should mention that, like, he says, "Oh, I'm gonna fight for what did he say? I'm gonna fight for
to protect like those that I believe in."
Like, I'm gonna fight to protect those I love. And then they're like, "Oh, you're pretty old fashioned. I like that."
Yeah, so like they have very strong morals where you even he mentioned that it's like, these aren't the guys that would like kill her in 12 years. Like, something drastic has to change.
Yeah, and towards the end of the episode, because they kind of have this scene where they're looking out on like some water, and he's like, "Oh, my older brother, the main the main gang member dude, his brother died because he kind of overstepped and didn't know his limits." And then the main gang guy is trying to start up a new biker gang. He's like, "Listen, there'd be fights all the time, but at least we cleaned up after ourselves." And then as they're both going their separate ways, main character and then main gang,
Manjiro.
I already started saying it the original way, so that's why I'm just continuing it. But as he's walking away, you see the other guy he's not supposed to meet. He's like, "I think I've seen this guy before." And then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, I so far I really like this. Like, there are those aspects where there's like, at what point is he going to go back into the future and like sees where things have changed? And because even at this point, like, there are stuff that have like drastically happened where he's now like, before was basically only ever a slave to that one dude and
now
his cronies. Now he's like becoming best friends with like
the gang members.
Yeah. Well, that the leader of the gang. And like there are some of those aspects where it's like how do things like change, and apparently there's like a lot of kind of twists that happen that people have been like, "Yo, you guys don't know nothing yet. Like, shit's about to get real crazy," and I'm excited to see where this goes. I definitely think it's like Erased, but I have high hopes that the ending will make me happy compared to like, "Yo, you like fell in love with someone else while I was in a coma for 15 years?
Whack."
Yeah. So like,
and had a baby.
Yeah. So
that's all I got.
It's
sorry, this went a lot longer than we were planning, I think.
Yeah, we still have like 3 minutes ish at the very beginning we have to cut out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe. Bye.